What's up, wrestling card fans? Welcome to the Huskerhavs Wrestling Card Podcast. My name is Mike. I'm from Mike's Retro Trading Cards, and I'm joined by my partner, Anthony Huskerhav himself. What's up, Anthony?
Not much. Hey, I just want to give a quick shout out, non-wrestling related, to all the seniors that are graduating like my two kids just did this time of year. I wish you all the best and many successes in your journey in life. So congratulations to everyone.
Big time year. My daughter just graduated from grad school. She's going to get her own job.
Yep, cool.
For some of her own stuff. The great time in life. Now I just have two more boys that have to get there too, and we'll be good.
This is kind of a different podcast format that we're doing this time, because a lot of people might not realize it, but we're actually going to be having two podcasts for the month of June, two separate, totally different subjects. It's just something that we're testing out, a neat idea. But I know everyone's anxious to bring on Chris Moertl to talk about all things female professional wrestling. But before we bring him on, we're gonna do something that I've been tracking kind of in my store for years. So go ahead and announce it, Mike.
So yeah, you're going to give us your top 10 all-time female wrestling card sellers.
Correct.
So why don't you get us started, get right into it with number 10.
Number 10 all-time bestseller at Huskerhavs is a famous wrestler. She's no longer with us, but she went by the name Daphne. Also was also known as the Governor. She used that likeness for a few years. The interesting thing about Daphne was, I believe, I could be mistaken, but I believe she is the only wrestler, male or female, that has a card with different likenesses on it that she autographed for each likeness, because she autographed one for Daphne, and then she'd autographed one for the Governor. And I just thought that was kind of cool from that standpoint. So start off number 10 all-time female sellers in Huskerhavs is Daphne.
Okay. Who's number 9?
Number 9, yeah, I actually call this a family tag team, believe it or not. It is Stephanie and Linda McMahon. Both of them sell extremely well in our store. And I often notice through the years, the reason why I say they're kind of a tag team, because a lot of times when someone's buying a bulk of Stephanie cards, they're buying a bulk of Linda cards also. Oh, wow. So I kind of consider them two kind of a tie. I threw them together just because they sell well together, and they're mom and daughter. So what better than that?
Yeah, I have a couple of Stephanie autographs myself. So, all right, number 8.
Number 8's a name that a lot of people might not realize, but she has a huge fan base. She does well with autographs, and that is Dawn Marie. Dawn Marie. I cannot believe how often I got people that'll contact me and they'll be like, I'm going to see her. I need a bulk of cards. She is one of our best sellers, especially from the 2000 type era, because she had a bunch of Flair cards back at that time frame, and just a wonderful seller.
Yeah, I just recently picked up some of her 2003 WWE Divas cards. So
yeah.
I'm very familiar with those. All right, number 7.
7, Alondra Blaze, or if you're a WCW homer, I think her name was Medusa.
Medusa, yep.
And she's a very good seller. The ones that really sell primarily the most for her are the Merlin editions. She had quite a few Merlin editions, and then a couple in the WWF magazine. I think she has one where she's with the motorcycle. Those are always extremely well sellers. I know when I pick up collections and I see those, I know I'm not going to hold on to them too long, because the minute I put them on my website, they'll be gone.
Very cool. All right, number 6.
My heartthrob, Mickie James. She was so popular. She still is popular. Always sells well. And she's probably one of the best female wrestlers out there that when I watch her, it makes my heart skip a beat.
Yeah, it's amazing that she's still going too.
Yeah, she's something else.
I think she's on her retirement tour right now. But yeah, awesome.
You know the other thing I liked about her, especially when she first started, she has the best smile of anyone out there. You can see her love of what she's doing and her love being there, and I think she's pretty outstanding.
All right, number 5.
Number 5, this person used to be my all-time bestseller, but as she left wrestling, she still continued to sell well, but not like she used to. But that's AJ Lee. AJ Lee, had a presence in the ring, was always jumping around and skipping and stuff like that. She was very popular. Always used to sell super well for us. But I've noticed as time has gone by, even though some of her stuff does still sell, it don't sell in the magnitude like it used to. But she's our number 5 all-time top bestseller.
Okay, number 4.
Ric Flair's daughter, Charlotte, still does well. A lot of people collect her, and even those that I know aren't like Charlotte collectors, but they just buy different stuff, they'll gobble up her cards. She does very well. Number 4.
One of the best, probably the best female in-ring performer ever. Like, she's just fantastic. I don't think she's as collectible as she should be, because she's definitely going to be the all-time great.
I totally agree. The people that are out there right now spending their money on some of these other wrestlers, I won't get any names per se, but some of these current people that are out there, if you're passing up on Charlotte right now, I think you're kind of a fool. Because she has longevity, she's going to be there for a long time, and she's like her dad. I think she's going to be there forever. The legacy is going to be there.
Okay, number 3.
Number 3 is a person who's starting to come back in wrestling a lot, because she's now with AEW, and that's Paige. Paige used to be one of my top sellers, super popular, and she kind of disappeared from WWE for a while, and now we're seeing her in AEW, and she was also, I think, in some of the indie circuits that are out there, but does very well. Still is a very popular person and a wonderful seller in our store.
Yeah, great to see her back too after being gone for so long.
Right.
All right, number 2.
Number 2 is someone who I think the WWE is missing the boat on, and I say that based on the fact of how popular she is in our store. Alexa Bliss. There is nothing that I can get my hands on Alexa Bliss wise that I know that when I put it on the store, people want it. She is phenomenal. She's just everything about her. I love the girl to death, and I try to collect her own stuff for my own personal collection besides my sets. But I think Alexa Bliss, without a doubt, is our number 2 seller.
Yeah, they really need to find her something good to sink her
Correct.
teeth into. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, and drum roll, the number 1 top seller.
Recent WWE Hall of Famer Trish Stratus is without a doubt our number 1 seller. I can't tell you the number of stuff that I put up on her cards. They're gone almost immediately. The rarer, the better. And even stuff like some of those early 2000 Flair cards, like they had those where she was I can't think of the name of it, but she's in her bikini and everything. It was a little set that they did on the one Flair Diva set. Those cards, they just sell. When I first started getting my Russian cards in, the first thing that people started contacting me about was how many Trish Stratus. I've got the largest Trish Stratus collection, and all I want to do is add stuff that I don't have. So she is without a doubt my number 1 bestseller. Names that people might have thought are a bestseller that don't do well, at least in Huskerhavs. Lita hasn't moved a lot of cards. I never understood why. Ivory used to be really hot years ago, but she's really slowed down. And as far as current people go, my number 1 worst seller, Becky Lynch.
Wouldn't have guessed that one.
Yeah, me neither. I thought, because WWE really hypes her up, and I just thought, there would be a lot more people buying her. But for some reason, our store, it's not a big seller at all. Don't understand why.
Okay. Well, that's pretty impressive list. Yeah. Some of those early late 90s and early 2000 cards were quite a bit different than anything they put out today. Those sets were something.
Right. But the interesting thing about some of those older female wrestlers is again, you can really tell the people that are good to their fans, the ones that do autographs, the ones that want to be, at a trade show, at a Comic-Con, whatever, they are the ones who are still popular, still successful, and are still around. And I give kudos to them. I mean, I met Trish Stratus, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, down at Comic-Con down in Kansas City. And we talked for about 25 minutes just about wrestling cards. And it was really interesting to see how nice and approachable she was to strangers. And I really got to pick her brain a little bit about her own cards and stuff like that. And like I said, I really like to get people their own cards. If they're a collector, I really like to get them their own stuff. So as much as possible, that's what I really love to do. And it was fun talking to her. So, it's really neat to be able to put together this list just to show people that my sales wise, that's all I base this on. It's my sales, nothing else. Yeah. So give people perspective. So with that, I think we should bring on Chris if he's ready to go.
Okay, we will break here for a second, and we'll be right back with Chris Moertl, talk about independent female wrestling cards. All right, we are now joined by our special guest, Chris Moertl. Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks, guys, for having me. I appreciate it.
Just for full disclosure, Chris is a customer of mine when I run my Mike's Retro Trading Card stack sales. So, no conflict of interest here, though. We're just going to talk wrestling cards tonight.
Sounds good. Rest of it's secret.
So Chris,
yeah.
So Chris, I want to start off by, how did you get started in collecting wrestling cards, and primarily the female side of the house?
Well, the way it all started is I've been collecting baseball cards since I was a kid. And by that, probably, 4 or 5 years old. So late 70s. And then I also grew up a wrestling fan. So right around 2019, I was organizing, and I can silence my phone, by the way. This thing's just quiet until I try to do something.
Of course.
So Murphy's Law. So in 2019, I just did a random search one day for wrestling cards because I kind of saw some people were getting into them online. I'm like, well, for me, that's like the best of both worlds, because I just started following wrestling again, and being a baseball card collector, you kind of put the two together.
Yeah.
I did a random search for wrestling trading cards, and Husker pops up. So I click on it, and of course there's this whole other world, and I'm like, what is this? And where has it been? So yeah. So I placed an order right away, and I had been following wrestling, and it's kind of strange how, to go back to where you asked about how I started following the ladies, is when I started following wrestling again and got on social media, especially Twitter, seeing all the wrestling that was available in this area with regard to New England. And it wasn't long after I started following, I saw an advertisement for Blitzkrieg Pro, and they're based out of Enfield, Connecticut. And the first match announced, probably the first mention of them I saw, was a match for a show that was coming up. And it said something along the lines of, this is our first match announcement for the show, tickets dropping, so on and so forth. And it was Skylar against Penelope Ford. So I sat there and kind of looked at the ad for a second, and you're just going to get this feeling you can't explain. You don't know the origin. You don't know why, the what's, where's, and when's, and all that. But I knew I had to go to this show.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept dwelling on it. And I was at work when this happened, so I was obviously focused on other things, but it was always in the back of my mind. So I thought, all right, I'm starting to follow wrestling again. I'll go to my first show. Before that, I hadn't been to a show since probably the late 80s, and it was a house show. And I think it was still called WWF then. So that tells you how long before that.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought a ticket to the show, had the time of my life, just was totally blown away. The first wrestler I met was who is now my favorite, Skylar. And of course, if you guys know anything about her at all, she's just an amazing person outside the ring anyway. So and after the show, I was just buzzing. I'm like, I need more of this. Like, now. Like, I wanted to just leave the place. Even
they hooked you right away. Yep.
It did. I just wanted to go straight to another one and go have a seat, like movie hopping or something.
Yeah.
So I knew I wanted more, and that was March 25th, 2017. And it's just been going and going ever since. And when I got my first order from you, Husker, I think I ordered a bunch of Santana Garrett, some Deonna Purrazzo's, people that I was starting to follow. And it's, for wrestling alone, wrestling has brought back a source of happiness for me after losing my wife to cancer. So, it's just like one big circle, and it's just become this whole, for me anyway, it's become this whole living, breathing thing. Like I've made more friends than I can count. I've been in so many different states to shows, and it's just a whole world. And I feel like you either get that or you kind of don't. So if anybody's kind of outside wrestling and you start talking about it, that I'm sure you guys have gotten the look before, like, what are you talking about?
You're really into that, aren't you?
And it is another language, and we speak it and we understand it. And if they don't, that's fine. Everybody's got their thing, so it's just really come full circle for me. And I tell my sister all the time, I say, I'm having show withdrawals and I got to check the calendar and see when it is, and getting that lottery winning ticket conversation, like, oh, this person's going to Paris. And I'm like, nah, I'm mapping out my show calendar. I know what I'm doing.
Now you can tell your sister you appeared on a podcast about wrestling.
So she knew this was going to happen. She lives in Kentucky, and she knew this was going to happen, and she just thinks it's the greatest thing in the world. She got a huge kick out of my wrestling card too, which I still haven't gotten over that. Just having my own trading card. I mean,
cool.
I've had people send me a couple, so I don't know if the fact that they don't want me, if I'm a common, like if there was a Beckett, it would skip over my number. I don't know.
Yeah. Back in the day, I remember when Beckett's were like that. But a shout out to your sister if she's watching. Just want to say hello from Mike and myself.
We're nerds too. So
hey, one big family.
We're all in this crazy little hobby together.
Amen.
But I mean, I totally understand that though. Like I was a huge wrestling fan as a kid.
Me too.
Like we even went to the Spectrum like in the early 80s. Wow. I got to see Andre the Giant, and like it was so cool. And then, I hit my high school and college years like kind of when WWF was at their peak. So I wasn't really into it because I was kind of on to other things, grew my hair out, play guitar, be in a band. But absolutely. Then when I had my card shop, like I had some people in there. We all started like during the Attitude Era and stuff, WCW era, started watching that. And, I'd have people from my shop over to watch pay-per-views, and like, I was just into it. And then I kind of got out of it again, but now I'm like it just draws you right back in.
Doesn't it though? And
it just
does.
If
you told me that, I'd be like, nah, probably not. But here we are.
Yeah, so. I know. I'm a 50-plus-year-old man, and I still enjoy it today. And I'm at least under the point in my life where I'm not ashamed to say I am. Like, I like wrestling. I don't care. So
exactly.
Awesome.
Life's too short. I always tell people, if you find happiness, as long as nobody's getting hurt, and it's legal to a degree, hold on. Just grab on and hold as tight as you can, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. It sounds so cliche, but man, it's true.
Yeah, very much. All right, Anthony, got some questions for this young man here.
You want to take the first one, Mike?
Hey, I will. Who would be one wrestler that you would say treats the fans the nicest outside the ring?
Oh man, there's a whole list. That's funny you say that. Give you a couple. Okay, I can do that. Not a problem. Skylar's number one. She just comes to mind right off the bat. She's completely on another level. And like I said, there's a whole list. But just to name somebody random, I would probably say Deonna Purrazzo. I've met her several times, and she's just phenomenal.
She's really good too.
Yeah, she is really scary talented.
Yeah.
And I also want to add Thunder Rosa to that too. She's become a friend. Thunder's become a friend, and she's
awesome.
A class human being all the way, outside the ring, inside the ring.
Do you find that, do you think that when you're at these indie shows, obviously they're a smaller venue than say a WWE show.
Sure.
But do you find that, some of the female wrestlers there are more hungry for their fans, wanting to do more to make contact with them, than you would see for say, some of your stars from WWE or AEW, that those genres?
I think so to some degree, and I think it's a lot of it has to do with just the venue itself. I think with WWE, they're not quite as accessible as the indie shows, where as you go into indie show, the tables are set up, the meet and greets, the merch and all that. And I keep looking down like a dork, and I don't know why. I need to look up and make eye contact. So sorry about that. If I'm kind of like, boy, he was a nice guy, but he really didn't have the eye contact down. No.
That happens all the time.
I don't know why. I'm looking at me. Why? So, but back to your question. No, when you go in, it seems like there's more accessible. It's like when you go to a concert, and if you go to one, say at the Staples Center, and it's great and all that, then if you go to a concert, say at one of those outdoor pavilions, it's obviously much smaller, it's more intimate, and I think it has a lot to do with the setting. And I would suggest that maybe if WWE had, not maybe a different venue, but just more accessibility. And I totally get it. It's hard for them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, the amount of people that are there's just no way. There's tons of crowd control going on. And I think, while I've never been to an NXT show, I think they have a bit more for that, that they can do that because they're slightly smaller venues. Yeah. And I think there are meet and greet opportunities before those shows, if I'm not mistaken. So I believe that indie stars I call them stars because to me, each one of them are, they're where they're at because they've worked to get to that point, and their importance cannot be it can't be overstated. They're there for a reason. So I think they like that. I think that's for them. That's part of the experience, just like it's part of our experience looking in. They're on the inside looking out. It's a totally different perspective for them, one that I don't understand because I don't do what they do, but I think that's got a lot to do with it.
Out of those wrestlers on the indies, like who are some of them that you think are going to be big stars, like in either AEW or WWE one day?
Well, got to give the nod to Skylar again.
I should have started with other than Skylar.
Yeah, right. Mind you,
every question should start with that. Yeah,
right. So I think Billy Starks is, and Billy Starks is so. Even at a young age, she is so traveled. She's been all over the place. She's been to Japan, and keep in mind, she's doing this while she's doing school, while she's going to her prom. She's got a full plate aside from wrestling. So when you throw all of her travel in and the logistics that are involved with that, she's just tremendous. And I think there's going to be no stopping her. I think somebody who's fairly well established, who I don't see any limit to where she can go, and she's been in tons of countries, is Debbie Keitel. She's mainly in Europe, but I think if everything worked out right, and she's huge in demand over there, I think if she were to come to the U.S., at some point, I think there's a lot of opportunities for her here. I could see her on AEW. I could see her in any role, any capacity. High On comes to mind. She's primarily in Texas, Texas-based, I should say. But there's another one. You think about some of these people, and you think about their home base, and then, oh yeah, well they've been to Germany, or they've been to England. They've done this. That they have their pay-per-views as well, and they've been a part of that. So there's a whole other spectrum outside of AEW that, while it's a separate entity, you can easily see these people just coming right on in and just doing their thing in front of another audience. And I think there's people that my whole take is a phrase I use a lot is wherever there's a ring. It could be in Washington State in a smaller venue, more intimate, or it could be at the Staples Center or anywhere. I think there's a lot of people out there that could excel easily and just be a tremendous asset to any roster, any division.
Great.
You mentioned some good names, and it's interesting some of the names that you mentioned, because I've noticed a peak in sales of some of those girls lately. I consider you, I gotta be honest with you, Chris, I consider you probably the authority in the hobby when it comes to indie female wrestlers. How do you go about finding out new talent and people like that? Like when I was a kid, everything was in a wrestling magazine. That's where we learned everything.
Right. That's good.
Now everything's online, and you almost don't know where to go because there's so many different places you can look. How do you yourself, what do you use, or what do you do to kind of research and find new names, new faces, new places?
Well, to start with, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that compliment. To take it further, I think social media does have a lot to do with that. Twitter primarily is just a huge, huge area. And by doing that, I try to follow as many wrestlers as I can, because to me, it's kind of, so many things just branch out. If you're following, say, a Thunder Rosa, and you see she's going to be here on this particular date, and this person comments on it, and say they run a federation, or if it's another wrestler commenting, and you look at them and go, oh, they're an indie wrestler. Let me see what they've got going on. And then it just keeps going and going and going. And it's just, there's just no end. There's so many different resources. And I feel like Twitter, at least in my mind, Twitter is the best for that. It's a really good starting point to discover talent, to discover companies. And a lot of times they just kind of intertwine, you'll have one person, appear for a company on one show, and all of a sudden that generates interest to this company or to this state or this country, so on. And it just, you find yourself just going, okay, where are they at next? Where are they at next? It's like following your favorite musician on tour or something, So you go at it that way. You follow everything that they've got going on, people they follow. It's just a huge chain.
Great. We're going to be doing another podcast this month about grading cards.
Okay.
So I know CSG does a lot of the independent cards, but I'm interested to hear your opinions on grading, and especially grading the independent cards. I know like PSA won't do it. So in general, are you for or against it? What are your thoughts about grading?
For the longest time, and when this whole grading thing came about, and help me out with this one, I want to say, what was that, the 90s that this started happening?
Yeah, it really started to be popular like in the later 90s, like 97, 98. It was around
I was going to say 98 myself, around 98.
That's what I was thinking too. And I was really starting to collect hardcore into baseball then, like, 'cause I'm a Cleveland Guardians, almost called them the when they were there was a huge Indian fan.
They're still the Indians to me, so don't worry about it.
Thank you. So nice assist there. So when that started coming about, I was reading into it. As a matter of fact, I think I first heard about that in reading of Beckett, if I'm not mistaken. So I was reading into it, and I thought, okay, well, that's kind of cool, because you can look at a card and it might look good to you, and the corners could be, razor sharp, but it could be like the 75 Tops baseball. They were prone for the horrible centering. It could be something like that. So that's really a good idea. Well, then the more about that, I thought, well, isn't mint? Because then they started applying all these different things from mint and Beckett. Gem mint was one I remember hearing.
Near mint
to me, that's like you're great, something like that. Mint, I know exactly. Or near mint. I could see near mint or mint. That's kind of where I was stopping. So then I was kind of okay with that. That wasn't too bad of an idea. And then I started seeing the sales of graded cards. And particularly when it was a common card that would ordinarily be worth, say, for the sake of conversation, 10 cents. And because it's graded and it's got a certain, say, gem mint level, all of a sudden it's $100. I'm thinking, well, how can you really justify that if it's at the end of the day, it's still that card, and it's still whoever it is. Right. And no disrespect to them, but that's still what it was. And I still kind of feel that way to some degree, but the positive of it is if somebody has that card that they've been really looking for their entire life and they finally got it, and they think to themselves, well, okay, well, this looks really good. I'm glad to have a good, clean card, but just how good is it? Let me find out. Let me see what the most reputable grading company says about it. And then when it comes, and I've never gotten anything graded personally, but I can totally see, I like put things in other people's shoes, even if I have no clue what they're talking about, just to kind of get an idea or try to get an idea. So I can see that card coming back, and they open it up and there's the excitement, and they see what numbers applied to it. And they either go, I kind of thought it'd be better than that. Or hopefully they look at it and go, wow, it's a 9. I knew it. This is so cool. I got the card I want, and it's in fantastic condition. So I'm kind of right in the middle. Personally, I wouldn't have any interest in getting anything graded, but if you want something graded, I totally get it. I'm right there with you, and go for it.
Good advice. Go ahead, Anthony.
Okay. Is there any indie sets right now that have either been out or you hear are going to be coming out soon? Anything right now that you're super excited about? And you just think the potential for that set hasn't even peaked yet?
The first one that comes to mind is the Series 2 of Blitzkrieg, and that's I mentioned before. That's the one that's based here out of Enfield. They were supposed to come out. I was just thinking about this the other day. I want to say it was either right before the holidays or right after. and they were gonna premiere at a show like Series 1 did. And Series 1 just skyrocketed, and it just took off, and it sold out during the show, and they sold them as packs, with random cards like limited.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, okay, we're going to do a Series 2 at some point. So that's been kind of delayed from show to show. Really haven't heard much more about it, only that it's in the works. So I'm really looking forward to that. And they've got kind of a punk rock attitude, that company does, which is great. They don't hold back. There's no filter. They don't stick to any norms.
Any females that are going to be in that set that you're excited about?
Aside from Skylar, yes. Let's see. I couldn't resist throwing that in. Guessing, I would say. Let's see. There's probably. I would imagine Masha would probably be in that card because she's done some work for them. I don't think lately, but she has. She's done some tag team for them. Not a whole lot of singles matches, I don't think. I think I'm not 100% sure who all is in the set. As a matter of fact, I don't even know who's in the set, period, because there's no other than it's being developed and it's in the works. I'm really not 100% sure who's in there. But I think a lot of their main stars like CPA, I think a lot of the people that are from Series 1, I think it'll probably mirror that. Maybe some takeaways, mainly some additions. I think there's been some additions of people since then. As far as the females go, I would think Alley Catch would probably have a card in that set. She was in the first one. Vita Von Star was at the show. I believe it was the show it was the Vermont show she was at. As a matter of fact, it was Alley Catch against Vita Von Star. So I could see her having a card.
Now that would be her first card, right? Or did she have something else out there?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I didn't think so either.
Yeah, I take that back. She has a CCW, a Capital Championship Wrestling. She has a card. She's just got the one, and and I have the card. So I don't know how good it would show up if I tried to show it to you now, but it's a really nice looking card. That's a beautiful set, smaller set. I think they were kind of experimenting too to see where it would go. But
I know, Mike, it's your turn for a question, but I want to throw this other question because it just popped in the top of my head.
Go for it.
Because we're talking wrestling cards. When you're meeting a lot of the indie talent, what do they think about their cards and that they're on and people collect them and stuff like that? What's been your response from them with that?
The response has been great. I mean, they look at it and they kind of look at the front, look at the back, look at the front, look at the back, and everybody I've seen, they just get a big kick out of it.
I figured.
Yeah, they really get a thrill, and I can see that. Like it's got to be. Well, go back to the cards of the wrestling fan set that came out with my card. I still can't grasp. I'm on a trading card, really? Okay, cool. I mean, either people are going to really like that, like me, or they're going to think, I use it for a drink coaster. So
either way, it's good.
Yeah, it's good, exactly. So all the response I've gotten has been just fantastic. They're super excited about cards, and a lot of them are, they kind of have the same background we do. Oh yeah, I used to collect baseball cards. This is really cool. Or oh yeah, there's wrestling cards out. So I think for a lot of them, it just kind of it's something new, obviously, to them that and they just get a big thrill out of seeing their likeness.
With independent wrestling being so big, with shows being held all over the place, how do you keep up with what companies are putting out what sets and who's in that? It's hard enough to figure out who's in Panini and what's going to be in that set. I can't imagine collecting, independent wrestling card. Just what resources do you use to be able to know, oh, there's a set from Portland here and there's one from El Paso here. How do you keep all that straight?
You've got to give the nod to Twitter again and networking with, guys like yourselves and just being friends with collectors. I've made so many. To me, it's like the modern version of sitting on the front porch and trading baseball cards. You network with people. You just get to know people. You get to know their likes. And, we're kind of news sources for each other. Like, hey, did you know this is coming out? As a matter of fact, I'll give you a perfect example. Husker, the other day, a couple of months ago, something like that, you had added some cards to your site, and one of the cards was the StarCast sets.
Mm-hmm.
And every one of those is just gorgeous. I love those, man. Oh, can't say enough good things about those. So I'm sitting at work kind of typing away. All of a sudden, my phone starts going nuts, and I glance over at it, and I think it was two different people. I think one was Michael Neubauer, and the other was Pete Lynch. And they screenshot a picture of Santana Garrett. and kind of surprised I haven't mentioned her yet this far, because she's one of my top favorites. So I'm like, what card is that? So I look, and it was from your website, and like I end up getting like a text from one or two more collectors that I'm with. Haven't even met yet, but we're friends on Twitter and keep each other informed. So they're like, do you have this one? And the time it took for them to wait for a response, I went on your site. And really, when I go on your site, Husker, and I find a card, I'll kind of keep it in the cart for a little bit. I'll go back, do a little more digging, wait till I build up at least 3 or 4, as you know, and then I'll complete the order. I was not wasting any time because I knew you only had one of that card. So it took me 2 seconds to place the order for that one. And I went back in and I said, thank you. I don't, but it's on the way. So to give you a more concise answer, just networking, keeping in touch with people, the companies we follow. A lot of times there's things like that have happened. Somehow they were searching your site. They happened to see the card. I didn't know about it. I wouldn't have known until I had glanced at your site again. Maybe by then somebody else could have ordered it. So I think we're a lot of good resources for each other. It's just about being connected with people like that are either, I think the people that collect the wrestling cards, it doesn't stop there. They're also wrestling fans in general. So the two kind of go hand in hand. So it's a lot of keeping in touch with them and then just following different companies too. And a lot of companies will advertise their own cards, or a federation rather. They'll say, hey, we got trading cards coming out, like GCW, or somebody like that. Like those too. So it's, I think we all help each other like that. We're all super excited when one of us gets that card we like. So we're just news outlets for each other. We go all hours. So it's, we try to keep the fire burning.
Yeah. I try to work hard to find as much, I don't know, some people might call it oddball stuff or these different sets, but I don't know. I try to find all that different stuff that you don't see out there. I mean,
the best. They really are.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the point where next year I'm supposed to be going to Europe for 45 days, and my whole plan is just to do nothing but travel, visit some of my old friends that are still in the military over there. But I'm going back over there because I want to do a different run through Germany and Italy and those places I used to go to hunt different wrestling stuff that we don't necessarily find here. And I really, the other countries that I'm looking at going to eventually is I want to get into Japan. Paul Added from Wrestling Price Guide wants to go with me to India. We've been talking about going there and kind of doing a book, doing a research for all the stuff that's Indian cards over there. But yeah, the one thing I like about the indie stuff, and I know there's some people out there who aren't too high on it. You'll see it on some of the Twitter, junk, I call it, the people that are out there that put down the indie stuff. To me, the indie stuff is almost better than the Panini stuff. It's shorter printed. It's harder to find. A lot of the cards are cool designs, different images. Just, I don't know. I love the stuff. I'm hooked on it more than anything. That's why I've got guys coming on in July. Our July podcast is going to be all about the indie cards. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But yeah, so I really appreciate you mentioning that because it is so true. So much of that stuff is just so hard to find. And, you almost have to have networks. I mean, I got another gentleman. We're going to be doing a podcast later on where we're talking about how you find treasures, because you have to have a network, to be honest with you, for a lot of the stuff.
Of course.
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I was just going to add too, like indie cards, like being a sports card guy, that was my background. I sold cards for a long time. That's the closest thing to like prospecting there is for wrestling. Like,
right.
You don't have prospecting if you're just waiting for people to have their WWE card or have their AEW card. Like people love to buy Bowman baseball. Like people go crazy over that. They're buying, 99% of those kids are never even going to make it to the majors, but like they like to have them. They get big stacks of certain guys. And, that I just relate the independent wrestling cards to that. I think that's like a really cool new addition to this hobby that I think some people overlook. I haven't gotten into them yet just because I'm not knowledgeable enough yet, but like I wish I were more knowledgeable because I would love to get into them, but like I'm not just going to throw money at stuff. I've like picking up pieces in here and there of people who I might, maybe Skylar's cards I might want to buy. Apparently she's pretty good. I've heard that from somebody along the way. But yeah, but I see it as like prospecting, and I think that's really cool. Like that's, you don't have a new rookie class every year coming into WWE like you do the NFL or Major League Baseball. So I think it's just really awesome that all these people now, all these performers now have cards long before they're ever going to make it. And a lot of them may never even get there, but still, like if you come up with the next Rock or the next John Cena and you had the card that was made 10 years before they even got there, that's going to be pretty cool. So
absolutely. That's a good point. It's kind of like if you go to a show and you can remember an indie show before AEW exploded, and maybe you saw MJF or somebody there, and all of a sudden they've got their indie card, guess what, now you've got their rookie card. So there's the Topps Gold Cup right there. That's what you've got of theirs. And especially living in New England, this is such a hotbed for indie wrestling. It's just, I mean, we get a lot of, AEW, WWE, I can't talk, was here, of course, but there's just this whole East Coast area is just huge independent wrestling. So when you go to these shows and you develop favorites that you see and that you like to go see, and you're a card collector and they have cards of themselves and you collect it, it's just like a huge bonus. You're a big fan of somebody and you can collect their merch, and it's something beyond the signed 8x10. It's something beyond a shirt. It's something, a little bit extra. It's something cool, and it's already something that you enjoy to start with, So it's just an added, call it a perk,
You mentioned something that brings a question to mind. You talk about outfits or shirts or stuff like that. Is there a couple items that you have in your collection that are not card related that you're like very proud to have?
In terms of apparel or otherwise, or
otherwise for the female perspective of collecting.
Oh, okay. So I do have a Thunder Rosa. It's the base AEW figure, the first one that she came out with. We have one of those. Something of really importance to me because what these people do, they've not only brought happiness back to me, and that'll never go lost on me. Like they'll never ever lose my respect and admiration for what they do. So when I have something merch wise, that's not that all their merch isn't important and great, but when I have something that's really, really unique and one of a kind, there's just something extra cool about it, and something that kind of it gets in your heart, you appreciate it more. That said, I have a mask that when Debbie Keitel was injured and had a laceration, she wore it, and it's like a theatrical mask, but it's just a section of the mask. But it's almost like a Phantom of the Opera. I can't say that. It's almost like that. And it's almost got like the blood recreation on it because that's what she was going through underneath. So it's kind of like a mask for the injury, but it's kind of like, hey, this is what's going on with me right now. I'm kind of broken, but I'm still going. This is just a part of me that's covered. I'm still here. I'm still whole. And I was able to, and she lives in Ireland, and I was able to get that from her, and it's signed.
Nice.
There's not a second one anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Right.
That's the one. That's the one that came out down the walk in a match. That's the one that had photos done of it. And I've got it. And that's just huge to me. Like it's of the utmost. It's not something like I go, oh yeah, that's a Debbie Keitel mask. And then it stops. I mean, I can dwell on that. I could just sit here and write about how important it is to me. And that just, what they do just never goes lost on me. And that's just part of it right there.
It's great. Do you collect any non-independent cards? Do you collect any from the major federations?
Oh, absolutely. I've got my WWE favorites like Candice LeRae, Lacey Evans, Melina. I know she's not. Once in a while she'll do, I think, an indie show.
Yeah,
but she used to be one of our best sellers. Melina used to be. She used to be one of our best sellers. In fact, before you came on, we did a top 10 of my all-time best sellers. Leading into the podcast with you, and she's one of those that I would have to put in my honorable mention because she's always sold very well.
Yeah, that's really great to hear because thanks to you a lot. I have quite a few of her cards. I've got quite a few. So, but yeah, I collect a lot of the NXT ladies I like Fallon Henley, a big Gigi Dolan fan in particular. Valentina Feroz, I like her a lot. But there's, obviously India is probably my main collecting focus. But yeah, I anytime there's a new they look really nice. I think the most recent set looks better than the one that came up before that. I mean, there's not a whole lot of difference, mind you, but there's just kind of something added a little bit. I like when they went with the horizontal look. Yeah, those are really nice.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of good product that's over in Japan, and there's a lot of talent that goes over to Japan. Have you gotten into a lot of the Japanese issues like the Stardom and BBM cards, that kind of stuff?
I love the Stardom cards. Yeah, they're great. They're a bit of a nightmare to try and track down.
Yeah, trust me, they're the one product that I wish I could get my freaking hands on. Because I can't. I mean, even when they first came out years ago, I'd be like, where in the hell can you get these boxes? You know, and you would see guys, every now and then you'd see, someone might pop up on eBay every now and then. You're like, oh my God, these are amazing looking cards. Why can't I get a set of them?
They're so unique that there's a lot of times you'll see a couple of cards and they're kind of similar to each other. They might have like the similar pose, or maybe they're holding the same belt, or they got the same gear on. Stardom, man, there's no two alike, and they're just fantastic. And you'll get a kick out of this. I think was it. Oh, just 2 days ago for Wrestling Card Wednesday, I posted the Santana Garrett Stardom collection, and I have all 7. That took a while to do.
Oh, I can imagine. I can imagine.
Gosh. So it was funny. Like there's one card, and it's, if you'll look at the picture, the bottom left where she's holding up the NWA Championship and the Stardom white belt, and it says 7th Wonder Stardom Champion. I didn't know about that card for the longest time. I had no clue. So I had just gotten, I want to say 2 Stardom cards. I got them off eBay. And as I'm looking at them, I've got 6 at this point. I'm like, perfect. Now I'm done. I've got all the Santana Garrett cards in the collection. And then obviously the StarCast one I had just gotten out. I'm like, okay, now I really have them all. So I just happened to be looking at checklist one day, and I saw somebody had curated the Stardom checklist. I'm like, man, I can't imagine the undertaking that went into that.
No kidding.
Congress. So I was looking at those, and I'm just kind of like, okay, yep, there's this one. I'm just kind of matching them up, And then I'm like, yep, there's the 6th. And then my eye kind of travels downward a little bit and says Santana Garrett. I'm like, all right, hold on a minute. I check myself, first of all, because I know how I am. I'll screw it up if I get a chance. So I look at the cards. I'm like, 6, 7. What's the 7th one?
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy at that point. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Now what? So I had messaged the guy. I bought a few Stardom cards from him before. And he's actually, I think he's in England. So I said, I've got this card and that card, as you know. I said, what is that? What's card number 78, I think it is. So he just knew right away what it was. Like, yeah, it's the Wonder of Stardom Championship card. I'm like, what? I've never even seen it. What are you talking about? So he goes, want to see a screenshot? I'm like, yeah, I do. So he shows me a screenshot. I'm like, okay, is that the actual card you have? Or did you just find it that quick? He goes, no, I've got that card. Are you interested in it? I said, yes, I am, very much so. So that one took a little while. I think that's the only card that I've ordered that has been held up. Because I get it. It's got a long way to go from England to Connecticut.
Yeah.
Customs, it's going here, it's going there. There's tons of hands that it's going through. I'm like, watch this. This is the only one I need, and there's going to be a problem. It's going to wind up somewhere else or just kind of hanging around on a shelf or something. Well, it finally did come, and I have it. So, but Stardom cards are just great. I want to say last year, I'm just rambling. I'm sorry. But as these memories are popping into my head for Stardom cards, we could have a whole other podcast on Stardom.
Oh, I know.
As you know, part 1. So, I want to say it was last year before, I was on Facebook, and this person was selling these art cards, these commemorative art cards that this other person had created. And he had done a Hana Kimura card. And I'm like, gosh, that's beautiful. It was a limited print. I forget how many he made. It wasn't many. So, and he put out of stock. So I just casually commented that if he ever did more of those, I would 100% be interested. I'm a huge fan of hers. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us, as you know. I was a huge fan of hers. I would really be interested. And then I just sent it and then kind of forgot about it. So the gentleman that did them, he messaged me in Facebook and Messenger. He says, "How do you know about Hana Kimura?" And I kind of told him a little bit of my background and all that, and I've been following her. And he said, "What do you appreciate about her?" I said, "Well, she's got an infectious smile. She's incredibly talented. I have it on good authority that she was poised to be the greatest star that Japanese wrestling, maybe even male or female, has ever seen in history. Like, she was right on that threshold. And, what happened. I said, so, that while it's heartbreaking, it kind of touches me. Like, okay, she's still, even though she wasn't with us for long, she still made a mark. She still has her place. People are going to talk about her from now until the end of time. Even certain wrestlers will speak of her and how they appreciated her talent and what a nice person she was." I said, so that doesn't go lost on me. And with the importance that wrestling has in my life, she played a tremendous role in that. And for that, I'm grateful. And he came back, he goes, "Okay, well, I really wasn't expecting that response." And he goes, "Why don't you give me your address? I've got a few of them."
Nice.
And I said, "You got it. I appreciate it." I said, "Can I pay you for them? Let me pay something, do whatever." He wouldn't hear of it. Absolutely. Like, I insulted him. "Nope, not at all. I'll get it out tomorrow morning if that's okay." I'm like, "That's fine." Whenever. I don't care at this point. Do what you got to do. Wow. So he sent it to me. And when it came, I thought, he put 2 of her Stardom cards in there. You could have knocked me over with a feather. I could not, but it was wonderful to have this numbered art print card. It's gorgeous. But to have him include a couple of her Stardom cards,
right?
Stardom cards are rare to begin with,
right?
But her Stardom cards, you don't see them at all.
No.
And even if you do, they're just hugely priced, which I totally get. They're rare. So I just thought that was just a really, really kind thing to do. And I just have an appreciation for Stardom cards. There's people that, we're in, like Kelly Klein, who once in a while I still keep in touch with. She became a friend too. She has Stardom cards. A lot of people you don't necessarily think about have Stardom cards, like Gabby Ortiz, just different people. So I really appreciate the uniqueness of Stardom cards. No 2 are alike, and the photography is still really good, even though some of them are 8-9 years old. They're still crisp. They still have a pop to them. I really like it.
Okay, Anthony, you have anything else for him?
You got a package. Let's open that package. Chris,
is it that time already?
Package time. Nice.
Oh, hey, one other question. Before you open that package, I do want to ask you one other question.
Please.
Masha Slamovich recently in the Brotherhood, which I'm no longer a part of, obviously. Yeah. We were talking at the time frame. She has this new indie card. Have you seen that? What's your thought on that? And were you going to be buying any of those? Because I bought 30 packs from that company, and I understand that we don't really have a full checklist for that set or anything. But I'm curious your thoughts on that card.
Remind me, please. I kind of know which card you're talking about, but
it's the one where she's jumping off the ring. She has a big like wooden mallet hammer, and it's a set that I think someone produced out of Florida. They're not. I think they were called Fighters or Fighter Series or something like that. It was the one that we were talking about a couple days ago on the message board.
I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off. I'll probably have to go back and look at that. So I wish I had a better answer at the moment. I'll have to look into that because I vaguely remember that, but I'd have to go back and double check that. But that sounds like something pretty unique. I'd want to take a look at.
Yeah. It looks like the whole set itself looks like it's pretty unique. I'm kind of back to the oddball thing. I'm kind of excited to get my hands on the packs to see what actually comes out of it. But go ahead and open the pack that we sent you. There's some items in there, and if you can, try to hold them up to the camera the best you can so people can see what it is.
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned oddball. I got my first taste of an oddball card at a card show in '93, the summer of '93 in Cleveland. And I was looking at cards. and I found a Squirt Cola Carlton Fisk, and I bought it, and it was like a quarter. Fisk is one of my favorite players, and so that was my first introduction into oddball cards.
I just found these Yoo-Hoo baseball cards the other day too.
Yoo-Hoo was awesome.
I didn't even remember Yoo-Hoo.
I think I have a few of those.
Yeah,
very cool. All right, here we go. Seeing that top card there, that Will Clark. Remember when you get the grocery store rack packs, like the 87 top, $1.29, and you can see who was in it? Like, oh, cool. All right, here we go. So, the box.
Yep.
If you made it child-proof, we're in trouble.
No, I shouldn't have. I just taped it good.
Oh, you're the best. That reminds me, I think I've got a couple of things in your cart, Husker. I'll have to take a look. I think one of them's a Kelsey Reagan.
That's cool.
Go back and snag that.
I've been so behind getting 2023 up because I'm getting ready for the Kansas City show. But I got so much stuff, and it's like I either had to focus on the Kansas City show to get that stuff ready or continue on my website. So I had to take a pause from my website. So pretty soon I'm going to start tackling stuff on the website, and you're going to start seeing a whole bunch of stuff show up on the website from 2023 and so forth. Like the Australian cards, I'm looking at a stack of those packs sitting over there. That I got to bust open and get those on my website, just different things like that.
Oh, I promise you have a guaranteed sale with the ladies that I like from Australia with me.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Madison Eagles, Charlie Evans. I have so many favorites in Australia. Oh, they're just scary talented over there. Oh, my gosh. Hey, I was halfway there, and then all of a sudden we've got a snag. We're almost there. All right. Okay, cool. Here we go. Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Hey, this is just a thank you. I like to give away stuff if you see my other shows. So I just want to say thank you for coming on our show and give me some of your thoughts on what we gave you.
Oh, well, here we go. I'm getting there. There we go. So we have Sabotage. Where's the camera?
There you go.
Camera 1, camera 2. The event that started it all DVD.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
This is great. Desi Dorada, that's so funny to see Desi jump. The first name I noticed, she's one of the first ones I started following. She is just fantastic. She's got like the kind of the MMA background as well, but man, she just really applies it to indie wrestling. She's great. War of the Genders too. This is when these are when Thunder Rosa owned the company, so these are really great to see. So got that one. The floor for the cat to play with. Look at that. Oh, man, this is so cool. God, man. If you could send me a couple more walls when you get a chance, that would be great. Oh, my goodness. This is so funny. Like, I got to be honest, because it's the only thing I can be. I was just thinking the other day, like, I need to put more stuff up. I wish you could see I have to. Well, you got one thing in there. I hope you're getting ready to show that you'll have to get it framed. Okay.
Did you find it yet in there?
Well, all these are frameable. Are you kidding me? There's this one, Fire Steel.
Yeah. Now look at that poster closely.
Okay.
Every girl autographed it for you.
Oh my God, you're where the light was. Right behind this laptop is a window.
Yeah,
and it's obviously not sunny out. It's 7:42 in the evening here, and the way I was holding it, I did not catch that at first.
Yep, totally autographed. Every single one of those people on there autographed that poster.
Unbelievable. Hyon, even she's one of my. Yep. Hyon is one of my top favorites. Her and Alex Gracia.
Yep.
Oh, that's just huge. Wow. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that's great. That's getting framed.
I figured that. Yeah, Matt didn't frame.
I was
look good. Now you got one thing left. One thing left. This is the creme de la creme. I hope I hit a home run by putting what's in this one. You have a brown envelope in there. Yep, there's another one. Yep.
Wow, that's great. I remember this show vividly. Hyon, Kelly Klein, Alex Gracia, Roxanne Perez, Roxy then, Ashley and Delmy. I always watched these because Thunder Rosa owned the company at the time, and I would always watch the live stream for the show as it's happening. And every Sabotage show just kicked so much ass. Okay, you said brown envelope. I've got a white one.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Sorry. Yep, okay. Go ahead. But
I'm trying to get everybody's envelope mixed up. All right, here goes nothing. The
I hope if I did my research right, I hope you do not have this and that this is something that'll blow you away. So let's go.
Well, everything's just wonderful. I mean, I can't thank you enough for this. Just for having me on
no worries. We're here to have fun.
So did we lose camera? Okay, that was weird. I don't know if that happened on just my end or what happened now.
Yeah, it froze a little bit. We're okay.
I do have this one.
Bummer.
No, please believe me. There are certain people I will collect multiples of. I promise you.
Gotcha.
This is perfection. Thank you. I have this. As a matter of fact, I'd have to look. I may only have a signed one of this. I may not have an unsigned one.
Gotcha.
Either way, this is perfect.
The Missouri Wrestling Revival cards are totally underappreciated. They are hard to find. Great images, great color. I really love them, and so I was hoping that was going to find itself a good home.
It's perfect, and I had never heard about those until I want to say maybe about the second or third time I looked at your site, Husker, and you had Missouri cards, and it was a link to where you could email Brian.
Yep, and buy them directly from him. Yep,
exactly. So I did that, and I've got a ton from him. I got Mischief, both Santanas, and then I think I ended up getting one from her from Santana at a show because it was so funny. I remember when I went to a show, about the third time. I've seen her 3 times live, and I went to see her, and having a unique name helps. They recognize like, oh yeah, there's that guy. So she's going through merch like, oh yeah, I've got these pictures, and you've already got this trading card, I know, and I'm like, you know that? So she's like, but you can have it if you want it. So yeah, cool. This is great. This is fantastic. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for coming on our show. We appreciated the time, and I just wanted to let everyone know that if you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe to Mike's YouTube page. Yep, and build his subscribers. It's great. We have many wonderful shows we're looking at doing in the future, and maybe we'll bring you back on later on when we start attacking some other cool indie stuff.
I would love to do that. I'd love to help in any way I can. Count me in. You've got me anytime you want me. I promise. Thank you so much for everything.
Awesome. Well, I thank you again for joining us on the show, and that's all we have for this episode. But I think we're going to throw another one out in a couple weeks. But other than that, take care, everybody.
You too.
Bye.